So today I will take about 1 hour to have some introduction about this product and this solution. And according to this agenda, you will see that first I will talk about the background, why we need to deliver this BPC consolidation on embedded model, and also some position about how to using this product and what kind of customer will be the most suitable candidate to using this kind of solution compared with other ones. And then I will talk about the modeling for BPC consolidation on embedded model, which is also the biggest difference between the standard model and embedded model. So I will also talk about this. And then I will go on to the next part, which is the difference between the consolidation on standard model and embedded model, because the difference between, because the new concept of embedded model, a lot of, quite of some things are different. So I'd like to introduce about this to have a better idea about how it works in the future project. So this is some slides I wanted to show at the very beginning. It indicates the different SAP solutions for consolidation. And you will see that at the end, some classic solutions like BCS and ECCS, they're just in the maintenance mode only. And for the existing one like BPC NetWeaver version, FC, and BPC MS version, we will focus on different types of customers. And what I've mentioned right now is that for FC, we dedicate some particular regions like France, Japan, and for BPC MS, we're targeting for a customer who using MS server technologies. So for the rest of our customers, we'd like to using BPC NetWeaver as a traditional, as a suggested consolidation solution. And this is even the consolidation solution when we talk about the integration with S/4HANA. So right now, some of you may be aware of this real-time consolidation solution, which is a deep integration between BPC and S/4HANA, which will provide a lot of real-time capabilities like real-time data and real-time calculation capabilities. So this project is still under development, and we're using BPC, which is the BPC consolidation on embedded model, to do such integration. So this is a very clear point we want to spread to both to external parties, to customers and partners, to make sure that they understand that BPC and BPC consolidation on embedded model will be the key factor when we talk about integration with S/4HANA for real-time consolidation. So when we talk about BPC, we'll have different scenarios. For example, we have this standard BPC, BPC in standard model. We also have this BPC on HANA. And then we also talk about this BPC integration with S/4HANA. So you'll see that there will be three different scenarios. For example, for scenario one, we normally will copy data from a business suite into BPC. This is a traditional standard way. And of course, when we're using HANA platform, we can have some benefits compared to scenario one. For example, a better speed and compression of HANA database or something like that. But you will also see some limitations by using this kind of mode, that we'll have to duplicate the data from business suite to BPC. And normally, in some practice, we'll also have some below staging cube as a middle layer between your business suite and BPC. So in the future, we want to deliver this so-called real-time consolidation. So you will see that for both BPC and S/4HANA will be residing in the same S/4HANA platform. And it will, by using some more complicated technologies, we can achieve some real-time data, which means the consolidation solution can directly consume the universal journals from S/4HANA without duplication. So this is also under development right now, but the basis to achieve this is to using BPC consolidation on embedded model. That's also the main, most important topic I would like to introduce in today's session. So I think some of you may know this, that we already achieved such integration between BPC and S/4HANA in the planning side. The solution is so-called SAP BPC in context of S/4HANA Finance, which is a planning scenario, which is that you can do planning by using BPC embedded model, while it can also directly retrieve the data from S/4HANA. So our vision is that we want to expand that part into this consolidation part. This is also a real-time consolidation topic we would like to do. So you will see a list of benefits or value points can bring to the customers according to such architecture. But to achieve this, the first step will always be the BPC consolidation on embedded model. So, and which is already released in the end of last month, which is actually February the 26th. So, which this means that customer can already download the latest BPC NetWeaver 10.1 release, SP09, to start to see how the consolidation on embedded model works. So previously, if you still remember when we deliver embedded model, it's actually at the beginning of BPC 10.1, the early release. So at that time, we only support the planning for that one because it is actually an integration between BPC and PAC, planning application kit, another planning solution based on HANA, optimized for HANA, which is also if you know another SAP solution, so-called BIP. So when HANA comes into the world, the BIP is also optimized for HANA, and we will name it into PAC, Planning Application Kit. So compared with BPC, they are both planning applications from SAP, but the difference that for BPC it's maybe more user-oriented, and for PAC it is more IT-oriented. But when we compare the BPC and the PAC, we'll see that some benefits from both sides. That's why we decided to do such integration between BPC and PAC to deliver this so-called BPC on embedded model. One of the important reasons is that we can already directly using some existing planning functions from PAC, which is already optimized for HANA platform. And if we want to achieve the similar capabilities in BPC side, which means we'll duplicate the related effort to do almost a similar thing. That's one of the main reasons we want to deliver a BPC 10.1 with embedded model. So at that time, you will see that the consolidation for embedded model is the missing part. One of the reasons is that there's no such consolidation function in PAC yet. And also that for consolidation, right now it is the calculation part is also in the ABAP layer, which means that it's not that easy to be benefit from an embedded model. So this is still a missing part when we deliver BPC 10.1 at the very beginning. And when we see that when we achieve this BPC optimized for S/4HANA, which is also known as IBPF, as before, Integrated Business Planning for Finance, we recognize that it will be a very important missing part if we cannot achieve this BPC consolidation on embedded model. Because maybe to integrate the BPC with S/4HANA for consolidation also makes a lot of sense in such scenarios. But still using the standard model for BPC, it will be quite difficult to achieve this approach. That's why we have to do this, deliver this BPC consolidation on embedded model. That's the driven part or driven fact we want to deliver this. So next slide, please.
Okay. So we've got the background requirement for consolidation on embedded model.
Okay, thank you. So once you achieve this consolidation on embedded model, it not only makes the embedded whole story for both planning and consolidation part, it also makes it possible to achieve this BPC optimized for S/4HANA for both planning and consolidation, which is the real-time consolidation I have mentioned before. So in this slide, you will see that we list this modeling part for standard model on the left side. And if you're familiar with BPC modeling, you understand that the modeling is actually starting from the BPC side. So user will create dimensions in the BPC web client, and then they'll create a model accordingly. And then the system will automatically create some backend objects in the BW side. So you will see that for each dimension, it's actually an info object created in the BW side. For each model, it's actually an info provider created on the BW side. So everything is created from the BPC side, and create such objects in the BW side is actually transparent to the end users. They don't have to care about this. But this means that everything is handled by BPC. But on the other hand, if you will see this embedded model, if you're familiar with the planning part, you will see that the modeling is actually starting from the BW side. So user will have to create the info object and info provider on the BW side first. And based on this info provider, we can create an aggregation level to see that, to define which is the required info objects or dimensions in my planning scenario, using planning as an example. And based on this aggregation level, we can start to create a model in the BPC side. So you will see the direction is on the opposite way. So the modeling will be starting from the BW side instead of from the BPC side. So in embedded model, the BPC will not be responsible to create any objects. Instead, all the related objects will be created in the BW side first, and then you start to design the modeling in the BPC side. This is one of the big difference between standard model and embedded model. This will also have an impact about the modeling for the BPC consolidation. We say BPC consolidation on embedded model. So this is the biggest difference about this modeling concept between standard model and embedded model. So let's do a recall a little bit about how we do modeling in the standard model first. So first, we'll create the dimension, which represent a different business objects or different business factors in the real world. For example, we can create a time dimension, which represents the time period, the physical period when we're doing planning or consolidation. We also have this company entity dimension, which represents these legal companies when we do consolidation or planning. We'll have different dimension types when we create a dimension. For BPC, with standard model, we have this maybe 8 or 9 pre-delivered dimension types, including category, time, account, flow, audit, or something like that. And when we create a dimension, we'll have to assign a dimension type accordingly, even if it's a user-defined dimension. So in this way, when we create a model, the system will automatically understand that for each dimension, which role it plays with. It's an account dimension or it's an entity dimension. Then the system will understand that they may have different ways to be handled during the consolidation or during the calculation. But since the embedded model, everything starting from the BW side first, which means when we create a model in the BPC web client, the system actually has no idea about what these info objects refers to. They don't know which info objects will be the account info object. The system don't know which info object in the info provider will be the entity info object or the account info object. So a very important step in the modeling part, when we compare with the planning part and the consolidation part, it is important to see that we need to do a mapping thing. So let's go to see the UI about this, the new modeling UI for consolidation on embedded model. So when we create a model, we literally ask the customer to assign at least 2 info providers as a starting point. The first one will be the consolidation info provider, which contains all the transaction data for consolidation, for legal consolidation or management consolidation. This must be an existing info provider, and this is actually the consolidation model we'll use if we talk about the same scenario in the standard model. And then we'll ask the user to select an ownership model, which will be used to store all these all the information about ownership hierarchy or ownership information. So if you are familiar with BPC standard model, it is similarly that we can create a special type of model, which is the ownership type of model, which will be used for ownership manager in the end to maintain such ownership information, which will be used later in the consolidation calculation. So in embedded model for consolidation, these 2 info providers will be mandatory. And the third one will be the exchange rate info provider. This will be used to store all the exchange rate information, which can be optional because some customers using BPC, they will load this translated data into BPC directly, which means the currency translation is not a mandatory step in their consolidation process. So in this way, if the customer also has such approach, it is possible that they do not have to use an exchange rate info provider in the modeling. So this one is an optional one. And for the consolidation info provider and for the ownership info provider, these 2 are mandatory ones. So user needs to select an existing info provider from the system first. And then we need to go to the next important step, which is the dimension type mapping. So when we select this info provider first, we'll have to select this aggregation level as a second step. This is a similar thing when we talk about the planning side, because we have to write data back into that info provider. And in embedded model or in such technologies, the aggregation level is a must, which otherwise will not be able to write any data back into that info provider. So we'll also ask customer or end user to select an aggregation level as a starting point. And then when the aggregation level is selected, all the info objects assigned or configured in that aggregation level will be listed. And what the user needs to be done is that we'll define the corresponding dimension type for each info object. The reason I have mentioned before is that when we have that info provider as a starting point, the system actually has no idea about which info objects plays which kind of roles in my consolidation. We'll have separate info objects, but the system don't know which one will be used as a time info object, which one will be used as the account info object. So we'll ask the end user or customer to doing such mapping between the existing
followed by the
info
pound or hash key.
So we'll have to create such mapping relationship between all the info objects in the info provider or in the aggregation level to the required dimension type for BPC consolidation. So this is some particular step only needed for consolidation. You will see that if you're familiar with BPC planning with embedded model, these steps are not necessary because for planning, most of the calculation or the planning function will be achieved by some predefined rules or some predefined capabilities. Actually, it will not using this dimension type concept to introduce some special logic. But for consolidation, it's different. The consolidation logic is predefined by the business rules. The system has to understand which info object should have which kind of different handling or processing. That's why the dimension type is a mandatory step. So we'll ask end user to maintain all the dimension type mapping relationship between the info objects to those required dimension type for BPC. And right now we require actually all the dimension types to be available in that aggregation level. Maybe some of them are not mandatory. For example, the flow type, I guess it's not mandatory. But for the rest of one, like category, audit, group dimension, currency dimension, account dimension, or something like that, they'll all be needed. And for BPC, if you're familiar with BPC consolidation, you may know that for BPC consolidation, we're using the concept so-called business rule to doing the automatic calculation. And it will define different type of business rules to achieve different purpose. Like we have translation rule, we have elimination rule, we have these balance carry forward rules. So to provide a more flexible, flexibility when we define a rule, or introduce some special behavior when we're doing consolidation, the attributes for each dimension is also a very important concept. So for each dimension, we'll have some different attributes created automatically in standard model. And these attributes will define some different behavior for different members if they share different attributes. For each dimension type, there will be at least 1 or 2 attributes, or even to 9 to 10 the different attributes will be used. So these attributes will define the different behavior for different members when they have different values. And this is also a very important part for the BPC consolidation calculation logic. So this will be the true, like the info object in the info provider, that the system needs to understand that which attribute for that info object will be which predefined attribute for BPC consolidation logic. So here in this screen, you will see that for each info object, according to the dimension type it has, we'll list all the predefined or required attributes for BPC consolidation compared with the existing attributes of those info objects created in the business side. We'll also need to set up a connection or the mapping relationship between those attributes of info objects to the one required for BPC consolidation. So of course, you will see that the one with the red mark or red star will be indicate that these are mandatory attributes. And the one without this red star means that it's an optional one. User can decide whether I need to use this attribute or not. So this is the third step when we're doing the reporting. So this is an important step because we finished the whole modeling part. So you will see that to finish the modeling for BPC consolidation and embedded model, actually 3 steps will be involved with 3 different UIs. The first one to assign the info providers, from the business system. The second one will be doing the mapping between the info object to the dimension type. The third one will be the mapping between attributes and the predefined for the required attributes for BPC consolidation. So after these three steps, the modeling will be finished. And this is the biggest difference between the modeling part between the standard model and embedded model. You'll see it will be totally different, even compared with the planning on embedded model, not to mention the standard model for consolidation. But for the rest of the things, a lot of capabilities will still keep the same. For example, we're still using the same business rules to do the calculation. So the related UI will be the same. So how to configure the business rule will keep the same as before. So as long as you have experience about BPC consolidation on standard model, the rest of the things will be almost the same because we share the same calculation engine and we share the same calculation logic. I think it's quite understandable of that considering the capacity and timeline. Right now, as for the first release of embedded consolidation on embedded model, it doesn't share the same similar capabilities compared with standard model. So you'll see on the left, we list all the existing capabilities or features for standard model for consolidation. And in the middle part, you will see that the gray one means the missing part right now. Some of them or most of them will be delivered in the future support packages. So you will see that for consolidation monitor, we still have it, but we have some enhanced consolidation monitor. And for ownership manager, we still have this ownership manager, but for the ownership calculation, right now it's still missing. And for the control, it's also not available for the first release. And we're still in the development for the SP10, and we'll try to see whether we can deliver this control in SP10 or not. But it's still subject to change because control and control monitor, control report will be a quite huge topic to be developed for embedded model. And for journal, we still have it. And for business rules, previously we have 7 different types of business rules. In embedded model, there will be 2 rules missing as for the first release, which is the US elimination and equity pickup. We think that for US elimination and equity pickup, only limited customer will have a very urgent requirement for these 2 type of business rules. And most of the customers' consolidation requirement can be achieved by the existing 5 business rules. And that's why this is the idea for the first release. And for the incremental consolidation and parallelization consolidation, it's all the performance consideration. And due to the different framework or architecture for embedded model, the existing incremental consolidation and parallelization consolidation mechanism will not be feasible in the embedded model anymore. So we'll think about how to do it in embedded model with a separate way. So you will see that most of the missing parts will be introduced or considered in the future support packages. And besides this one, when we talk about this real-time consolidation, we will also have to do some further improvement for the embedded model for consolidation, which is the capability to consume S/4HANA data without a data duplication. It's a very important concept to achieve this so-called real-time consolidation. This will be related for both transient data and mass data. And we'll also like to push some calculation logic from the ABAP layer into the HANA layer to achieve better performance. So this is all in our roadmap right now, and we want to deliver them step by step to improve the consolidation capabilities in embedded model. So this is the current situation. You'll see there's some feature difference between standard model and embedded model. So for Consolidation Central, you will see that we have this consolidation monitor, ownership manager, and the journals available. These are the same. Only the missing part is the control capabilities, which will be delivered in the future support packages. And next one, please.
Onto the ownership manager.
Yes. So the ownership manager is also the same compared with standard one. User can use this ownership manager to maintain the whole consolidation hierarchy for their groups and companies, and also maintain the related information such as the consolidation method, the consolidation percentage for each company inside that group. This information will be later used for the calculation for elimination and adjustment. And we can also copy this data from to a different category or a time period which is also the same compared with the standard one. The only missing part will be the ownership calculation right now, and we think that it may be accessible because not all end users will require this ownership calculation capabilities right now. Definitely we'll also implement these capabilities in the future support packages. So overall, you will see that it's almost the same compared with the standard one. For business rule, you will see that it's almost the same. The only thing is that right now we only support 5 different business rules, except the US elimination and equity pickup. So if you'll notice that in this screen, previously we have these rules, and there will be a new task, a new line introduced, which is so-called task sequence, which is not available in the standard model. This is some enhancement we have delivered related with the consolidation monitor. So when we report this consolidation monitor in the standard model, you'll see that it's actually quite limited capabilities. We only have 4 columns or tasks can be displayed in the consolidation monitor, which is the control, and it's only possible to display the control result. You cannot trigger control from the consolidation monitor. The second one will be the work status. We display the work status on the consolidation monitor. And the only 2 consolidation tasks you can trigger from the consolidation monitor in standard model is the current translation and elimination adjustment. This is quite limited capabilities in the standard model. As you may know that for the rest of the consolidation functionalities, normally the user will have to using the data manager to run consolidation from this Excel client. And in embedded model, you know that we do not have this data manage package anymore. It's quite different compared with the standard one. So since we do not have this data manager, then which means that the related consolidation tasks or the consolidation business rules need to be triggered from the web client. That's why we improved the consolidation monitor in embedded model accordingly. So before we open a consolidation monitor, you will ask the customer to maintain this task sequence first. So they can select the existing business rules and they want to include it in their consolidation process, and they can define the sequence of these tasks. And furthermore, for some of the tasks, we can also allow the user to input some settings. For example, we can input some parameters to restrict the data regions the task will be involved. So similar like this. Of course, this is also the first step we want to improve for the consolidation monitor, which means right now we only including the business rules in the consolidation monitor. In the future, we will want to enhance this control monitor to introduce more capabilities like check the control result or even trigger the control to do the validation, and maybe also include the work status into the system to have some better notification capability to the end users. So also we may also want to consider to see that whether we can input to allow the user to trigger some planning function or consolidation functions, so they can trigger some customer-defined logic in their whole consolidation cycle. So we'll also plan to deliver these capabilities in the future support packages. You will see that this also has a similar user experience from the standard one. We list the ownership hierarchy on the left side, and the task list will be on the right side, and the status will be displayed accordingly. User can select one cell for combinations. For example, they can select the cell to say that I want to run current translation for the group GCU11, and they can trigger the task accordingly. And the status will be updated to see when it's finished or it is still in process. So this is the current consolidation monitor, a little bit enhanced compared to the standard one. But in the future, we'll definitely consider to improve the existing one with a better user experience. So this is the UI for the end user they will see from the web client for consolidating embedded model. You'll see that besides except the modeling part, the rest of the part will be quite similar compared to the standard one because we're using the same calculation logic or the same calculation engine for the consolidation. So the user experience will be quite similar, but still there are some two different according to the data modeling part, which I didn't mention at the very beginning, but it's very important to understand. When we're doing the consolidation for standard model previously, most customers were using this so-called YTD, year-to-date data modeling, which means the data stored in BPC info provider or BPC queue the data is stored in the YTD format. So for each period, it will represent the year-to-date amount for that particular period, which is quite aligned with the normal experience from a financial user or financial controller. For embedded model, it will be different because the concept of embedded model is that we're always using this periodic storage type. For embedded model, actually, the data stored in that info provider we created from the digital side, we think we will treat it as a periodic storage because this will keep aligned with the both planning part and the consolidation part. But since the data storage is different, the calculation logic will also be a little bit different. So if you still remember, for the business rules, we have a special setting we so-called a periodic calculation. The user can using that checkbox to see that, okay, for a particular account, kind of a combination for account or flow, whether I want to do the calculation in a YTD way or in a periodic way. So the checkbox will keep the same as before, and the meaning will also, and the meaning of this checkbox or this setting will also keep the same. So user will decide whether the calculation will be happened with a YTD way or in a periodic way. But the calculation itself in the end will be different because the data stored in the cube is different. So you will see that we make this periodic calculation for embedded model as an example. So considering that the embedded model, we have two transaction data for January and February will be 100 and 200. It's a periodic calculation. It's a periodic storage, which means the YTD value for February will actually be 300. And when we talk about different exchange rates, you will see that if we're doing it in a YTD calculation way, the expected result for February should be 600 because we want to use in a YTD calculation means we want to multiply by this 300 by this exchange rate 2. So the expected result will be 600 when we're doing reporting in a YTD way. But since the data is stored in a periodic way, so the data storage in the backend will be 100 for January because we do the calculation with exchange rate 1 in January, and the amount for February will be 500. So this 500 will be, if we just check this 500, it will be quite difficult to understand why we have this 500. You need to evaluate it in the YTD way because this cash account will be calculated in a YTD behavior, and the expected YTD amount for this cash account in February should be 600. So the periodic value for February, it will be 500, which is come from this 600 minus by 100. So this is quite important when you're doing a project or implementation if you want to check the data. So it will have the similar behavior when we say we want to do periodic calculation on a standard model, which is a YTD data model. You will see that it will be quite similar compared to that one, but the data storage amount will be different. So this is a very important concept you need to keep in mind when you're doing this data analysis or the reporting or doing the reporting to do the data analysis or data check by using reporting. So in standard model, when we're doing the reporting, the system will automatically using this measure concept to display the result correctly according to the YTD view or this periodic view. But in embedded model, we do not have such measure anymore. So since the data is stored in a periodic way, but for consolidation, a lot of data will only make sense when we review it in a YTD way. So we need to create a report to display the year-to-date value in a report. So some of you may know that for embedded model, we're not using EPM add-in. Instead, we're using the analysis office to do the reporting part. And to achieve this, you have to create some special design in the reporting part, which is actually, it is true, some extra effort compared to the one you do in reporting or design reporting in standard model. To achieve the YTD value in the AO report, you have to create a calculation key figure. You will not be able to using this default key figure because the default key figure will always display the periodic value. So you need to create a calculation key figure in the reporting, and the calculation key figure will then automatically calculate to do the aggregation amount from the first period of the same year to the current period. And in this way, when we're doing the reporting, the system will know that, okay, for this calculation key figure, it will do the aggregation from the first period of this year to the current period and display the aggregation amount in the report, which is then the YTD value. So this is a way how you do reporting to display a YTD value or YTD amount in the annual report. This is also one big difference between the standard model and embedded model. And this is a YTD display. Another thing is handled by BPC itself in the previous reporting is we so-called the automatic automatic sign reverse for different account types. So for consolidation, if you still remember that we have this particular dimension type, property in account dimension so-called account type, we have to predefined 4 dimension types. And for these 4 dimension types, especially for 2 of them, the data stored in the system will have a negative sign. And while we're doing the reporting in the front end, the system will do the auto reverse, to do the sign reverse to always display the positive amount for accounts. So this is handled by the BPC itself. So the reporting capabilities for standard model will handle this automatically. But for embedded model, it's also a little bit tricky to achieve this kind of thing. So the analysis office will not have the capabilities to do automatic reverse sign by default. So we'll have to using some I cannot say work around, but some tricky part to achieve this. So first of all, in the info object, we will see that this is in the BW workbench. So for each info object, we have to enable this reverse sign capabilities first, and normally it will be done for this account info object. So you will see that for the dimension members in the info objects, you can decide whether the members need to reverse sign. So this is done by the selection checkbox for each member accordingly. So the member with this box checked means the amount needs to be reversed in the reporting. And this is not the final step. The final step that you need to create a variable of reverse sign. So by using this, you will see that we can using this hierarchy attribute, so-called sign change. So which means the system will derive the information from the info object from all the configuration we have done before and understand that, okay, this number needs to be reversed. For the step 3, you will see that we'll create a variable of reverse sign, so which will be used later as part of the calculation key figure. So this variable will be used to derive the information from the previous configuration to see which dimension member need to be sign reversed in the reporting. So we'll create a new calculation key figure. So it can use the existing calculation key figure for this YTD we defined before. And using this YTD multiplied by this reverse sign, the system will automatically do the sign reverse according to the configuration you have done before. So this is true that it will be quite complicated design compared with the standard one. We'll see whether there's any way we can make it more easier in by using this analysis office. But if you want to using the latest version of the latest version for consolidation or embedded model, they need to be considered during your project implementation. So first, one question is that will there be a migration tool available for existing consolidation models? The answer is no, right now, because one of the reasons is that the migration from standard model to embedded model will be, it is true, it will be quite complicated, and a lot of effort will be related with the reporting redesign. So it is true that right now we do not have a migration tool, because even if we provide such migration capabilities, it may not cover the whole area to be migrated, especially for the report redesign. But from the development part, we're considering to see that we may try to deliver a program, a simple program, which can cover as much as possible to be migrated. For example, maybe the business rules can be migrated, the journal definition, the control definition, or something like that can be migrated. So this is still under discussion in the development team. and we'll see whether it's possible to deliver such tool in the future support packages. And does the consolidation system allow to use additional analytics dimensions? Yes, of course. So when we talk about, you can always introduce such additional analytical dimensions in your BW info provider as by introduce a new info object. And this info object can be used in the BPC modeling by assigning them as a user-defined dimension. So by this way, you can always have such extra information in the consolidation process. So the answer is yes. And another question that is it possible? Is this supports multiple hierarchies for any dimension? So right now, it's not possible to select multiple hierarchies because of technical limitation we have right now. In the modeling part, we will require the customer to select one hierarchy when they're doing the mapping between the info object to dimension type. This will be only used for the business rule definition, because for business rule definition, we will allow the user to define a set of dimension members by using parent node. Due to some technical limitations, we cannot support multiple hierarchies in the business rule definition. But for the reporting part, the multiple hierarchy is supported. You can always run reporting based on different hierarchies. So I think the only limitation is that for the business rule configuration, we only support one hierarchy, single hierarchy right now. But for reporting, it's all supported for multiple hierarchies. And are the characteristics validated? Yes, I think this is also something when we deliver this for embedded model, because the characteristic relationship validation is a capability of BW side. So as long as you have such configuration defined on the BW side, it will also be used during the BPC consolidation, and it should be it will be triggered. Such validation will be triggered when we generate the consulting result and try to save it back to the info provider. So the characteristic relationship validation will be available based on the embedded model. The data manager provides a detailed log. So with the replacement of consolidation monitor has the detail for analysis and troubleshooting. Right now, the log information will not be as detailed as the data manager capabilities. But I think that's a very valid point that since we will ask the customer to trigger the consolidation task from the monitor, we already have such consideration to provide more detailed information from the consolidation monitor for any troubleshooting or any data for any problem analysis. This is also in our development plans. Can business rule be triggered by a planning function or sequence? Actually, when trigger this consolidation task in the consolidation monitor, it is triggered by a planning function. We deliver a new planning function type, which will be used to trigger this consolidation task. So the answer is yes. The business rules are actually triggered by the planning function. Does it allow translation functionality where periodic data needs to be calculated in YTD to apply YTD average rate? Yes, it's possible. As I mentioned, that we still keep the similar settings for the rules to be triggered with YTD way or a periodic way. So the calculation way will be a little bit different compared to the previous one, but the result will be the same. So it is true that we can support YTD calculation based on a periodic storage. Regarding reverse sign variable, can you still plan both cost and revenue and positive value in the office client? Yes, this is possible. So the reverse sign will only happen when you have a negative sign when the data is stored in the info provider. In the other way, if the data loaded into that info provider is not loaded with negative signs, then the reverse sign may not be needed. So this will be something different. So you will also need to consider that the data format or the data sign in that info provider. Does it support matrix consolidation as it works, for example, in BFC? So for matrix consolidation, I'm not sure whether you know that we already support matrix consolidation for standard model already in SP7 or SP8. This is for standard model only. So the idea that we can using for both elimination and adjustment rule and the US elimination for the same model but with different aspects. So the elimination and adjustment can be used for the standard group and company hierarchy, and the US elimination rule can be used as for profit center and profit center group dimension, which as part of user defined dimension in the same model. So this is already supported for the standard model. But the thing is that for embedded model, as I mentioned, the US nomination is not part of the first release. So to do matrix consolidation, actually you can do it in a separate way, because we can for embedded model we create models based on an existing info provider, which means for same info provider you can always create multiple models above the same one. So one approach is that you can create separate models based on the same info provider, which have both group and company and profit center and profit center group. So by this way, you can create two separate models based on the same data set, and in this way you can achieve this matrix consolidation in a different approach.